Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome again to Riding the Wave. I'm Mark Healey, the editor-in-chief of The Wave, Rockaway's newspaper, since 1893. And joining me this morning as part of our Election 2020 series, we're not just talking to people that are running for office, we're talking to people who are running for re-election. And this morning, I'm joined by State Senator Joe Addabbo. Good morning, Joe. Thank you for making the time and for getting up so early to be part of our
pleasure, Mark. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And I just want to clarify, you have not been there since 1893, right? The paper's been around since 1893, right?
The paper's been around, but
yeah,
you know, we were around that whole 90th Street, Rockaway Beach. I get now that you're being sarcastic. I haven't had enough coffee, Joe, this morning to get sarcasm yet.
So earlier in the morning, I hear you.
But I finally, the mechanism clicked into place because I saw your smile. That's the good thing about Zoom. Look, you know, this is your second go around running against Tom Sullivan. You've served now 6 terms, I believe, in the Senate. I think that obviously COVID has changed a lot of people's things, perceptions of things. And I think where people might have been either very strongly supporting Governor Cuomo or against Governor Cuomo, certainly I think people on both sides have certainly changed, adapted to this new reality. Maybe some of the people that supported Governor Cuomo now don't, and vice versa. You know, and the reason I'm asking you this, I know you're not Governor Cuomo, but I think that representation in the Senate is important, certainly now more than ever. And I think that there's going to be a resounding, you know, I always preach it. I want people to come and I want people to come out and vote because it's so important. And it's really important now. So why should people reelect you, Joe? I mean, why do you think that you deserve to be reelected this time around?
Thanks, Mark. You know, again, I hear too from my constituents who are very frustrated, certainly since COVID. And I hear the frustration, I hear the anger. And what I always remind them is Governor Cuomo, Mayor de Blasio, even Donald Trump, they're not going to be in the community at the civic meetings talking to the people. We're here, the local electeds. I've been there. I've represented the peninsula for a number of years now. And, you know, again, I've been there. And so I'm their voice, you know, arguing with the governor to, you know, open up businesses more safely, keep the schools open, arguing with the mayor about his decisions on the peninsula, a large homeless shelter on Beach 101, which we never agreed with, you know, dismantling the anti-crime unit within the NYPD, which I don't agree with, closing of Rikers, which I don't agree with. I mean, so it is my job to be the voice of my people. And I hope, you know, people understand that I've been there for them. I will continue to be there for them. And, you know, why am I running for re-election? Because I want to show the people that I still am there for them, but also that I love what I do. I'm a full-time state senator and I love what I do. I love serving the people. And there's unfinished business. And right now, you know, again, with the COVID, I want to see it through. I want to see it through that we actually addressed every issue that has been faced with us with the COVID, using my experience, whether it be with 9/11, Flight 587, Sandy, certainly Sandy, most recently with ISIS and working with PSNG, but using all that experience and the ability to use my context on a city, state, and federal level to be the voice of the people and answer their concerns.
You know, obviously, you know, you won very handily over Tom Sullivan the last time around. And, you know, I asked him this question and I'm going to ask you this question. You know, our community editor, Ray Van, who you know very well, you know, says that when he used to interview fighters, he would always ask them, you know, well, you know, how did you do against this opponent last time? How would you face that opponent this time? So the last time you ran on your experience, you certainly ran on your ability to communicate to both sides of the aisle. And I think that, you know, you were successful in that first go around with Tom Sullivan. And you both played it very nicely. You both were, you know, positive about each other as people. You just disagreed with each other's policy. And, you know, we recently had Tom Sullivan on this program and, you know, he basically said the same thing. You know, he said, Joe Addabbo is a good man, but, you know, I think I can do a better job in the state Senate. So you faced Tom Sullivan before. You've been in politics for a long time. So how do you feel that you're going to go about it this time with, less than a week left to election day? How are you going to win re-election this time?
It's a different year, and Tom is a fine individual. I respect him as a veteran. We don't talk nasty about each other. It's not a negative campaign, which I appreciate, because I don't think people are well served by a negative campaign. These campaigns of vote for me because the other guy's a jerk or the other person's, it bothers me much because it's not telling of a platform. How are you going to do things? What's your vision? How are you going to do things? And again, I bring up my experience of how I'm going to go forward with, whether it's COVID, whether it's transportation, whether it's beach issues, whether it's, protecting the businesses on the peninsula, economics, so I'm using that experience going forward. But it's a different time, with COVID. Again, I feel the people are frustrated, they're angered, and they need to understand that they have someone that they can turn to, which I hope they feel it's me, who have been there in the past. And so that's what's different this time. Still using my experience and my ability, but again, I think it's this time people have to really understand that they need a voice more than ever, really. The city's, to me, not going in the right direction. We have our issues with the governor, and you need someone to have their backs. And I've had the people's backs for many years, and I will continue to do so.
Joe, I think that there is certainly always, I like to play devil's advocate, as you know. And, some might say that maybe it's time for a different voice, because, it seems that the Democrats have been running things in New York State for a long time. And, people are not happy with, for instance, state lawmakers with the bail reform bill. And, I think people, when they come to me and they say, well, next time you talk to Joe, why don't you ask him how he could vote yes, on the bail reform bill. And, I want to give you this opportunity to clarify your vote, but I also want people to know that, for what it's worth, I found that your office and you yourself have always been accessible. We may not agree on every issue. People might not agree on every issue with you, but your office has always been one of those that I know that if I reach out to you or Anthony or Sandy or, Mary, that I'll get an answer. I might not like the answer, but I'll get an answer. So when I ask you, Joe, why did you vote yes on the bail reform bill? What would you say to me if I was, going to vote for you or not?
Yeah, sure, Mark. First, I'm blessed with a great staff. They are dedicated, and I appreciate you acknowledging their work. So I am blessed with a great staff, and having 3 district offices, it's a juggling act, but the Rockaway office and Sandy there does a phenomenal job. So again, I thank them. I'll also say that not every Democrat is created equal. So you need that moderate voice right now, and I am a moderate. I don't make my leftist socialist friends very happy when I say that. Whatever, I am a moderate. And I'm so glad you asked about the bail, because as I talk and discuss the bail issue with residents, they understand there was never a bail bill. The initial bail reform was in the 2019 budget, in which they put it in there because they knew it wouldn't pass as a separate bill. They put it in the budget because you have to vote on the budget, because there's no way around it. You need a state budget. And so in a $170 billion budget, there was the bail reform. Now, it started out with, again, the far left saying no bail for any crime. So no matter if it was a murder or rape, no matter what, an arson, the most egregious felony, it started out with no bail at all. And we can accept that. So we got it to a point where it was a little bit more moderate to an extent. We did the violent crimes initially in 2019. And then you see it get implemented in 2020. And every front page of the paper in February, March of 2020 was all these stories about how bad the bail reform was. The repeat offenders being released and going out and committing another crime, getting released again. And so we changed it. We spoke to law enforcement. We heard certainly the concerns and frustration of our people, and we changed it in April. Now, since we changed it in April, and the changes were very simple, we now the repeat offender goes back with bail. So if they go out and they get released, without bail, but they commit another crime, they come back with bail. Judges have more discretion to have bail. And we added 25 more violent crimes and some even non-violent crimes for bail consideration. And now the monitoring. So if a person is released on bail, they could be monitored either at their home with an electronic device. So, and then we also put money in there so to make sure that the monitoring is taken care of. Ever since we changed the bail reform back in April, there's been no issues with the bail. What there has been issues with are things that the mayor has done. Dismantling the anti-crime unit, which again, I don't agree with. Defunding the police department, which I don't agree with. And the violent crime that we have seen, gun-related, again, other serious crimes being on the increase in certain areas, that's a more direct effect of what the mayor has done. So if we recap, everything within the state control, we changed bail. And there's been no issue since that, right? Since the change. The changes we cannot, because it's out of our jurisdiction, are the city issues that we don't agree with. And so that's really the story about bail. When I Googled it, and I just said New York City bail issues, all the articles, I should say, most of the articles were from January and February, prior to the change. Hard pressed to find a recent bail issue since the change. So I just want people to know the facts and the time frame. We've seen an increase in crime only since the mayor had made the changes with the NYPD.
So, certainly having worked with you over the last 6.5 years myself, since I've been here, I know that you have certainly valued your relationship with, the 100th precinct and the 101st precinct.
Yeah.
And I think that, when it comes to the mayor specifically, you have not been afraid to, stand against him. I know for a fact, you and I have had conversations off the record where you've expressed that, that sentiment that, even though you are a state lawmaker, that, when your constituents complain to you about what's going on with Mayor de Blasio, that you do call his office and you do speak to his staff and you do try to speak to him. I know that for a fact. But I will say this, that again, as a state lawmaker, your ability to kind of change things on the city level is hard. It's hard, and you certainly need to, you need to find ways to kind of fight for your constituents on the state level because of the difficulty at the city level. And I'm not saying you haven't accomplished anything on the city level. What I'm saying is that right now, whether it's restaurants, whether it's the cleaners like the one down here on Bell Harbor on Beach 129th Street, whether it's the businesses on Beach 116th Street, down in downtown Far Rockaway, which I know is not your district, but I know that you work with Senator Sanders on a lot of issues.
Yeah.
How can you, at the state level, convince the governor that continuing these very restrictive policies as we get colder weather, as we get closer to the holidays, businesses are closed. Connolly's, we found out this morning, is now for sale. These are businesses that are part of Rockaway's traditions and history, and they're closing and they're failing because we continue. Look, we get it. Wear a mask, but as long as there's no, as long as there are a 25% cap on indoor dining, it seems that Governor Cuomo cares more about, his percentages and his record and his book than he does about, and people are frustrated. So they're going to take it out on you, Joe, because you're a state lawmaker. How can you combat that?
Yeah, so a couple of things. First, on the city level, right, out of my jurisdiction because I am a state representative, but when the mayor comes up to Albany and says, hey, I need mayor control of our schools, or hey, I need the authority to borrow $5 billion because the city's in an issue, fiscal issue here, and he needs our authority or our approval. There are ways that I can exert pressure onto the mayor other than just giving him a call personally, which I've done, because I do not approve of, like I said, the homeless shelter. It's too large. Our homeless shelter on Beach 101 Street, transportation, again, a lot of things that the mayor has done locally. And beach access, and obviously closing the beaches, and we had an issue with that earlier in the year. So there's a certain amount of pressure I could use my experience to exert it on the mayor. On the state level, there are certain issues with the governor that I've taken up. I got a very nasty call from the governor's people a little right after the COVID, because I said that the state liquor authority and their army was a little too oppressive to our businesses who are trying to make it, I have been endorsed by the Business Council of New York State. Why did the Business Council endorse me? They saw my record with the small businesses, and they understand that I've been fighting for our small businesses because our small businesses hire and employ local residents. We need our small businesses, whether it's on Beach 129, or Beach 116, Rockaway Beach Boulevard, Beach Channel Drive, all the way down to Mount Avenue. We need our small businesses, and they need to thrive not just during the summer, but year round. I'm advocating that the businesses, restaurants at least, open up to 75 or 100% because Nassau County has done it, and they've done it fine, and they've done it safely. Why not Queens? Our virus isn't discriminatory. Our virus doesn't stop at the Queens-Nassau border, you know? So we can deal with this, and we can have our restaurants thrive just like they're doing in Nassau County. I've had these battles with the governor's people. If, and again, I don't like to play the politics, but if the Senate Democrats gain seats this year, and we become what they call a supermajority, with those gained in seats by the Democrats, we can then override a governor's veto. That's a great power that the Assembly already has. So again, if I was the governor, I'd be a little concerned if the Senate Democrats got the supermajority this year coming 2021, along with the supermajority in the Assembly, we can override a governor's veto, which makes the legislature more powerful. But I have no problem going into the governor's office and expressing my concerns and my anger when it comes to businesses that are not, in my opinion, being treated fairly. And I have done so.
You know, and it's really important, I think, look, I'm not going to lie, you know, if the businesses are doing well, it helps the wave, you know, I mean, that's just common sense and logic, you know, but we're a business too, you know, so our business is affected by, I don't like to talk about that side of it, but, you know, we have a big staff, we have people that we take care of. So, you know, we're just as much a business as anybody else. So, you know, it's important for us to, you know, advocate not only for, you know, ourselves, but certainly advocate for the businesses that we have great relationships with. So when they tell us they're struggling, you know, we tell you, and we try to tell the mayor, you know, and, you know, it's important that people know, Joe, that you're putting people before party. I mean, I think it's really important, a message, especially now, that, you know, you put out there and mean it. And I mean, I think that you know, certainly have shown that in the past, but, you know, when people tell you, do you put party, you know, do you put people before party?
It's simple, Mark. I work for the people. I work for them. I don't work for any governor. I don't work for any mayor. I work for my people. I have to answer to my people, you know? So when I sit down at Sorrentino's, I was at Sorrentino's last week, having dinner with my family and talking to John, the owner. Great individual. Actually, your paper did a great article on him and his family. Yeah. Really a fine individual. But when he talks about how he needs to help the other businesses on Beach 129 and how he's struggling, and he's talking for the hundreds of businesses in my district who are suffering as well. I talk to the business owners. I go there. I hear their anger. I hear what their years of dedicated service and a family business, and it's just, again, wasting away right before their eyes. I hear their emotions, and I feed on that. Again, when businesses reach out to me, that's when I have to say, okay, we need to do something here. And that's when you have to get in the face of the governor and the mayor, like I have. But talk to the business owners like I have. Hear their anger, hear their story. And again, it resonates throughout my district. You know, whether it be in Rockaway or all the way up to Kew Garden Hills, it resonates. And these business owners need help. So working with the Queens Chamber of Commerce, like I have, trying to find an avenue or a roadmap to get the businesses to any kind of program that's out there, city, state, or federal, that may assist. And that's why we need the federal stimulus money as well to try and help. But the bottom line is, how do we get our businesses through this tough period? Because we will get beyond this. We will get beyond the COVID. We will survive. Hopefully our businesses do too, but only by working together.
Well, Joe, look, I know you got a busy day ahead of you. I wanted to thank you for joining us today. I hope your family's well and staying safe, and good luck on Election Day.
Yeah, Mark, thank you for the opportunity to talk to the people once again, and all your work at the Wave. Really appreciate what the Wave has been, such an iconic part of our peninsula. So thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Flattery will get you nowhere today, at least before Election Day. Take care, Joe.
There you go. Stay safe.